Emily Carter had imagined her first date in 3 years unfolding with a quiet kind of hope. Maybe a spark, maybe a moment where she remembered what being wanted felt like. But she never imagined it beginning with her exhausted reflection blinking back at her in the bathroom mirror as she tried to tame her hair with one hand while her 7-year-old son, Noah, sat on the closed toilet lid swinging his legs and humming to himself, completely unaware that her heart wouldn't stop thudding against her ribs like a fist on a locked door. She had debated canceling the date when the babysitter bailed last minute, but something in her refused to back out. Something stubborn and aching and tired of waiting for life to start over, so she told herself it was only dinner, only conversation, only a chance to feel human again, and Noah, sweet, quiet, imaginative Noah, would be fine coloring beside her for an hour, because she had raised him to be understanding, gentle, patient in ways no 7-year-old should need to be, yet somehow he was, and that alone tugged at the guilt in her chest as she helped him zip up his jacket, smoothing the cowlick at the back of his head before they stepped out into the evening air where autumn leaves swirled on the pavement like tiny orange birds. He held her hand as they walked toward the warm glow of the restaurant windows, his little fingers cold but trusting, and Emily told herself again and again not to expect too much, not to hope too hard, because disappointment was a luxury she didn't have the strength for anymore. But her stomach still fluttered when she saw him, Daniel Reeves, standing at the entrance waiting for her with a nervous, earnest smile that softened his otherwise sharp features, his brown hair slightly tousled, his shoulders broad beneath a navy jacket that matched his calm, steady presence, and when his gaze found hers it was as if he recognized her even though they had never met before, a recognition not of the face but of the soul behind it, as though he saw her weariness, her strength, her cautious hope, and welcomed all of it without judgment. He didn't seem thrown by Noah's presence either, kneeling gently to greet him with a warmth that made something inside Emily loosen just a little, and when they finally sat at the table, Noah with his crayons and paper, Emily with her guarded heart, Daniel with his quiet confidence, the world felt strangely manageable for a brief, fragile moment. The restaurant bathed in golden light, glasses clinking softly, the scent of warm bread and rosemary drifting through the air like a promise of comfort, and as Emily listened to Daniel talk about his work as a trauma nurse at St. Bartholomew's, about his long shifts and the people he tried to help, she found herself laughing, actually laughing, at the way he described one of his colleagues fainting at the sight of a paper cut, a story he told with such affection that she couldn't help imagining the man as an oversized, startled kitten. Daniel's voice was steady, low, reassuring in a way that made her chest tighten because she wasn't used to feeling safe around anyone anymore, and the way he listened to her, leaning forward slightly as she talked about her job at the community center, the kids she helped tutor, the programs she dreamed of building one day, made her pulse quicken not with nerves but with a surprise she didn't know how to name, as though someone had finally remembered she existed not just as a mother or an ex-wife but as a woman with her own stories, her own ambitions, her own inner world. Yet just as she began to settle into this fragile, budding connection, just as she allowed herself to imagine that maybe, just maybe, this night could be the beginning of something healing, she felt a small tug on her sleeve, soft at first, then more urgent, and when she looked down Noah's face was pale, his lips parted as though he were struggling to form words he didn't know how to say until finally, in a whisper so faint she might have missed it if he weren't pressed so close, he said, "Mommy, my tummy hurts," and everything inside her went still, the restaurant's warm hum fading into hollow silence as fear surged up her spine, because Noah didn't complain, not unless something was truly wrong, and she immediately brushed the hair from his forehead only to feel heat radiating from his skin like a warning bell. Her pulse tripped as she knelt beside him, her fingers trembling while Daniel stood so abruptly his chair scraped the floor, his calm nurse demeanor slipping for the first time as concern sparked sharply in his eyes, and Emily could feel the world narrowing around her, the tables, the voices, the lights blurring at the edges as Noah swayed slightly and she caught him against her chest, his small hands clutching her shirt weakly, his breathing shallow in a way that sent a jagged panic through her because this wasn't normal. This wasn't just a stomach ache, this was something else, something she didn't understand, and Daniel was already moving, already crouching beside them with a swiftness that spoke of training and instinct and fear he was trying hard to hide as he touched two fingers gently to Noah's neck to check his pulse, his jaw tightening the moment he felt it, and when Noah suddenly winced, his body tensing, his breath catching as though something inside him were twisting painfully, Emily's heart shattered in a way she hadn't felt since the night she left her marriage with nothing but a suitcase and a terrified child in her arms, because nothing was more terrifying than seeing your child in pain you couldn't fix, pain you couldn't predict, pain that stole the air from their lungs while you stood helplessly trying to hold them together.